Predator, upon watching, I discovered is one of the gayest films I've ever seen in my life, and
Yeah.
I will fight people about it.
Hi, I'm Kat.
And I'm Gabe, and we're the Ghouls next door. Talk about spooky stuff.
Spooky stuff.
Welcome to the Ghouls Next Door, the usually a media literacy show from the horror lens, where we explore the real life historical reasonings behind our cinematic fears. But it is Halloween.
It's the scariest time of year. Celebrate. Gabe and I are old now.
Yeah.
Also, life is a bunch. We're always like this at the end of October, which is like
Yeah.
ironic because it's like supposed to be our favorite time.
Yeah, it says a revivify, and it doesn't.
But we're like, we did so much. October, be done, please.
Yeah. It's because we are spooky every day of the year. So it's like everybody else has to catch up.
Yeah, you can't box this into 1 month.
It's spooky time all the time.
365.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're gonna do a Halloween special today where we're just chatting. We're doing some talking about films that we saw, some of our initial just reactions, things that we haven't covered in our maybe some that we didn't cover in episodes, others that we did, just trying to talk about them, and then stuff that we're looking forward to as well, just to kind of get up to speed on some of the things that are going on in the horror world, because it is unfair the amount of really well done horror films that came out this year, and all, of course, come out in October when it's not a time that we can go places and schedule and prioritize watching films in theaters.
Yeah, it's like really weird because you would think that this would be the most fun time. But it's like, one, they were rude this year because they did that and they also released every new anime that you would want to be watching. So it's like, how can we do all the things? You know? You can't just release all the content at once. You should like divvy it out so that people have stuff to do all the time.
Yeah.
Instead of everything all at once, and you're like, oh my God, now I'm just overwhelmed. My executive dysfunction is activated. And I'm like, what do I watch first? I don't know. It's stressful. But I love that they're making horror stuff. That's awesome. 10 out of 10. Keep doing that.
Yeah.
But
I knew.
all the time.
I'll be honest, like when the pandemic started, I was like, oh, we're going to get so many horror films just because that's what we do in these times. I'm surprised by the specific horror films that we've gotten. I think they're all really unique and interesting and fun. And that has been an adventure. Right? I think like each one is like something unexpected, or even like with the franchises that have added, it's been like interesting to see what they're churning out.
And there's just been like a lot of horror in general, like not even just films. Like there's been a decent amount of shows that came out this year that were pretty decent. New seasons of shows. You're going to talk about a bunch of books.
They didn't come out this year, but I read them this year, so it counts.
Yeah. And I'm going to talk about some video games that came out this year that were really exciting. Because all I do is video games if I can help it.
And all I do is read. It's very fun. Yeah. So happy Halloween to y'all. Please let us know what films, games, books, etc. were bringing you spooky joy this year, and what you're looking forward to next year, what you think you would love for us to cover. And so, Kat, take it away. You're emceeing this.
Yeah, I said a bunch of words about all these films. So we saw a bunch of films this year that were like pretty decent. Like I wouldn't know. I don't know if they're like my favorite films of all time, but they're like for 2022. There are like some one, as Gabe was saying, like some really unique horror films, like probably films like we weren't expecting to see, but then we like saw them, we're like, nice. You know, that kind of
Yeah,
feeling. We're like,
thank you for
that was
making.
cool. I didn't know it was gonna be cool, and it was so cool. And like, yeah, films that like really just took a different direction than maybe we expected, but in a really positive way. And I will say, not specifically with horror, but I did notice that a lot of films this year were starting to. I started to feel old for the first time. In that I was like, wow, these were not made for me specifically. I am aging out of the like movie going
Mm,
like some of like the more like mainstream films, like some of the superhero ones, like Thor or whatever. It seemed like they were made for the younger
mm.
generation, like maybe Gen Z. Bodies, 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 which we're going to talk about,
Yeah,
I
that's
think was
definitely a
made for
Gen
Gen
Z
Z.
film.
It's not a millennial film, and I loved that about it. It was just like so cool and like had chaotic energy. So, with that in mind, the first film I'm going to add, I added to our list is Bodies, 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 which I thought was fantastic. And it is about when a group of rich 20 somethings plan a hurricane party at a remote family mansion. A party game turns deadly in a fresh and funny look at backstabbing, fake friends, and one party's gone very, very wrong. Directed by Helena Raven. And what a time that film was, but like in the best way. I remember we actually saw it in theaters. We've been actually pretty
Mhm.
decent at seeing films in theaters this year. And I think we both like by the end of it were like, that was great. What a wow. What a wow that was, you know? Like it was just doing so much, but in the most hilarious way. It was like they took TikTok and made it a movie now. And like not exactly, but like it was just that energy that like really comes with the Gen Z
Yeah.
generation, that like kind of chaos that you
Yeah.
witness young people just experiencing all the time because the world is
Youths.
awful.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, everyone's doing it was like Euphoria, but a film too. Like, you know, everyone's doing drugs, everyone's dealing with it. I do think it was wild that they were a bunch of rich kids because I feel like not everybody's rich, but it was very fun as a
Yeah.
film.
Yeah, and I think that was a big part of it too. I really enjoyed I think the writing in this was amazing,
Hmm.
and, like, there was just parts of it where and they're poking fun at things, and it's definitely the, snowflake, commentary and all of that, but in a way that came from, like, you don't get it if unless you're here, like, these are
Hmm.
funny in a way that's not demeaning if you're looking at it the right way. Because
Yeah.
like, they know what they're about, and the writer knows what it's about, and it's very reminiscent to me of something like in its writing, like Jennifer's Body, and
Hmm.
having, like, some like, that dialogue in Jennifer's Body when they're fighting in the pool, like, is some of the best, like,
Yeah.
back and forth argument of our generation. Like, it's
Hmm.
very defined of the things that we valued or understood. And I just rewatched it with my partner because I was like, oh man, it's really good. Like, I just really, I had a really good time with it.
Yeah.
And I this might be a controversial take, but to me, it felt like Bodies, Bodies, Bodies does what Sophia Coppola thinks she's doing every single time she makes a film. And I'm just like, I know. Like, and that's coming from someone who does genuinely like enjoy Sophia Coppola film. I just felt like this one did it in a way that didn't feel like it was trying so hard the way
Yeah.
her films often do. It felt very organic and natural. And I will say, like, with the comment of it is for this younger generation, and it certainly is. Like, people have compared it to how our generation and the one before us kind of shares Scream, and how it
Mm.
kind of embodies like that's our horror movie that also follows like our the trends and communications. It's very young and
Yeah.
it values like the things that we valued as young people. And Bodies, Bodies, Bodies does that for the next generations. But I was talking to someone who is, if they're not Gen Z, they are borderline. Like,
Yeah.
they are a cusp. All right.
Yeah.
And he was very triggered by Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. For
Yeah.
him, it was too soon because like those are relationships like he's actively still having or just
Yeah.
recently had because those are like college relationships, like those like young 20s relationships where you're all a mess and you're
Yeah.
all selfish because you have to be to survive and you haven't really settled enough in your life to actually look at things
Yeah, like
and
look
like
back on it like, haha, what
or
weren't we
like
such a time then? Yeah.
consider each other like or consider another person like everything is just a me because that's the how you live in that time of your life and
Yeah.
and also like those friendships are everything and nothing at once like there's a
Mhm.
lot of
You're
emotions
still
that are in that
finding yourself, yeah.
yeah figuring
And
yourself out
yeah, and it takes you a minute to appreciate that till you're like older. So like honestly, maybe maybe they'll look back on it and feel very positively about it. But also like maybe it's a film that's made for our generation to understand that generation
yeah because
also a
it's
little bit
behind us
too.
enough that I
Yeah.
can look at it and laugh about the fact that I had somewhat similar relationships in the past but I'm it's in my rear view enough that I
Yeah.
can laugh at them
I have
and not
better
like be
relationships now.
traumatized yeah
Yeah.
you're gonna be like oh my gosh that was yesterday you know like
Yeah. No, super fair.
I think I would also like to talk to like a more Gen Z person like
Yeah.
not cusp, but like deep in it. That's what you
Mhm.
are. That's what you embrace, and talk about like what it was like for them. Um, because I think it would be really interesting. Like, because
Yeah.
maybe we
It's
think
one
it's
thing for
funny,
us as
you know?
millennials to be like, haha, it's a Gen Z movie, but like we're not Gen Z, so like we don't actually know. So I agree. It would be cool to talk to someone who's actually from Gen Z, being like, what did you think of this film?
Yeah, because maybe we're wrong. You know, maybe
Yeah.
we're. It's like people using thumbs up and like the certain emojis, like those are
Yeah.
outdated. You're not supposed to use those. And I don't always know. I do a thing and my younger siblings like, "Oh, you do that." I'm like,
Oh
"Oh no.
god.
Oh no."
I still unironically share gifs.
Yeah, I do it all the
So
time. I just
yeah.
learned about the millennial pause. That's a thing that exists.
What
I'm
is
just
that?
Buddies, Buddies, Buddies has some of the best lines that I continually will just think about. Just think
Yeah.
about them too. Like there situations in there. I love it. People say it's just a werewolf, but the movie, which is funny because Werewolves Within is Werewolf, the movie, and
Yeah.
that's made for our like a generation above us. Actually, like it's it's
Yeah.
it's a different take on the same concept, and I think they're both brilliant.
Yeah.
So,
The last thing I'll say about Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is it marries like horror and comedy very well. It has a lot of really
mhm.
funny people in there. Uh like people who are known for, or at least Pete Davidson, I know, is like known for being
Yeah,
funny.
and he's not
Um
even in there the whole time.
yeah, he's more
Spoilers.
like the butt of the jokes, if anything else.
Yeah.
But I think it does a really good job as a film marrying comedy and horror. And like it wasn't
Mhm.
really scary most of the time. It was like,
It was stressful.
whoa, yeah, like stressful. But it definitely like did a really great job doing that like catch and release, or like the way that we kind of always talk about like Jordan Peele, how he does a good job at that since he used
Mhm.
to work in comedy, that there's like similar dynamics. So it does that really well.
Mhm. It's more a whodunit than a horror film, I would say, but I
Yeah.
think they're also like it's a subgenre.
Yeah. Next on the list is a film we actually already talked about. The next two are films we actually already talked about. So
Mhm.
the next one on the list is Fresh. It was just a really fun take on cannibalism. So Fresh.
Spoilers.
All right. Well,
Whoa.
I thought that was known at the beginning. People don't know that already.
No, no.
Then
That's a big
what is the
reveal.
pull for going to see it?
Like, something is like, this is that this man is not what he seems, and something is going on. But you don't know
Okay.
why. What?
I knew why, and that's why I wanted to see it. Okay, okay. Okay, I will just, you can cut that out. That's fine. So Fresh follows Noah, who meets the alluring Steve at a grocery store, and given her frustration with dating apps, takes a chance to give him her number. Directed by Mimi Cave,
Mhm.
and
It's
it
the second
was
director on this list, thank you.
yeah, and that's also it's like really dope about this year, is I noticed
Mhm.
there's a lot more femme presenting people directing films. So that's kind of neat. But yeah, the film is really fun. It is pretty scary. definitely there's a theme, I think, this year, or like between last year and this year, of like, spoilers, kidnappy things, you
Mm-hmm.
know. It definitely, because like I was thinking of like Black Phone as well, that came out in
Mm-hmm.
2021. It's not on the list because it was from 2021, even though we watched it in 2022.
So
uh,
good.
but it was
So
also
good.
like a similar vibe where you're like kidnapping or whatever, so it's like it seems
Mm-hmm.
like there is a theme going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Feeling trapped maybe is the emotions that are underlying there, but like also just like meeting people who seem suspect, like you think
Yeah.
they're cool and they're not cool. um
The theme is trust no one or
yeah,
nothing.
the
Yeah.
the common sense fear is that they will murder you, as Gabe has coined in our early episode.
Yeah,
It's very
that's
much
true.
that, but it's also like a fresh take, a fun time.
Ah,
I definitely recommend it to other people. We really enjoyed it, and we did a whole
mhm.
episode on it when we were at that convention. I can hear
Fan
Charlie
Expo.
like loudly
Sorry.
purring.
I'm so sorry. She's very excited.
She
Charlie, I'm
also
sorry.
loves the film.
You have to go.
No, no, no.
You're
Keep
being loud.
Charlie.
No,
She
it's
was
too late.
cute.
She's gone. Yeah, she's an
Yeah,
aggressive bird.
yeah,
Sebastian Stan is amazing in it. I have never really caught myself like a big Sebastian Stan fan. Not that
yeah,
like I thought anything negative about him. I just didn't really care.
yeah. I would say the
And
same.
yeah, I was like, okay, cool, yeah. But in
Same
this, I was
here.
like, okay, okay, all right,
Yeah, you don't need to
okay.
activate this within me. Stop it.
Yeah, I think it's rude,
Yeah.
what you're awakening, and I think, you should stop and also to keep going. So, that was that, and,
Just to specify, it's not that Gabe wants cannibalisms.
yeah, it's not that.
That's not
It's
what it is.
there's other things at play.
You can figure
Um,
it out for yourself when you watch the
listen to the
movie.
episode,
Um,
and, I thought it was very unique and fun. I thought it was very fun and
yeah,
gross.
yeah, and it was, yeah, it was, did a really good job with gore too. That was really fun. Like, if you like gore, you'll probably be like, hell yeah. But if you don't, you'll probably be like, ooh, why? But it still does a good job of like exposition and like building up tension and all the other stuff that like it's worth it, even if you're not a big
Mhm.
fan of gore. Like I
I will
hate gore, and I was like, oh, this was a good time.
Yeah, it feels, like, fake enough and
Yeah,
not, like, over like, too much.
yeah.
I will say, I was just thinking about this, that I have read or watched or experienced a large number of cannibalism things this year.
Oh yeah, and your books, right?
It just keeps coming up. It's at least 3 books and that or yeah, 3 books at least, and then
Yeah.
this film.
It's kind of like capitalism has an impact, right?
Yeah, eat the rich, I wish. I wish it was
Yeah.
that's what it was about. It's
Yeah.
usually the rich eating people problem.
Well, I mean, that is
Um,
what they do, though. Like, maybe not
yeah,
literally,
figuratively,
but
yeah, they eat
figuratively. Yeah.
everything.
But
Like, let them eat cake, and we're like, "No."
yeah, yeah.
Alright, next one.
Next one is
We gotta
X.
get quicker about
I
this.
know we do. X, which we also talked about before, is the description is in 1979, a group of young filmmakers set out to make an adult film in rural Texas. But when their reclusive elderly hosts catch them in the act, the cast find themselves fighting for their lives. Directed by Ty West.
Mhm.
What a time that film was. You liked it honestly more than I did, I think, but I did
Yeah,
really enjoy it. It was like a very fun film in like what the theme was, and the actors did a really good job. Uh, Always fun to
yeah.
see. Isn't it Brittany Snow? Is that her name?
Uh-huh. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
in there.
she's always fun in horror movies. I'm always a
Yeah.
fan whenever I see her on screen.
Yeah, I loved X, a lot. I know that people get hate for it, and that's just because they don't think about things. I think people just don't ever you just you gotta ask yourself, like, what lens is this from? Like, who
Yeah,
is this for? And when you do that, then you can reason with yourself why people would like it versus not.
yeah.
On the when we get to like what we're looking forward to, I did put Pearl on there because that was
That's a
filmed
sequel, right?
right after
Yeah,
X, and it's a prequel.
Oh,
because it's
prequel.
about
Yes.
a woman, but it's played by the same actress, Mia Goth, who I heard does an even more like phenomenal job in Pearl. Like I've heard really good things about her performance. So
Nice.
and I saw a clip and I was like, what? I'm so excited. I'm feeling it.
So yeah, we're definitely excited for that one. I would agree. I'm definitely like excited to see Pearl. I don't know if it like occupies my brain space often, but like I would go with you. I'd be like, nice.
Yeah.
The next one on the list is one that was like very hotly anticipated, and I think like did deliver, which was
Mhm.
Nope by Jordan Peele. The residents of a lonely gulch in inland California bear witness to an uncanny and chilling discovery.
Mhm.
Yeah,
By Jordan Peele. I have my picture over here.
no poster. Yeah,
Because like I need a us one as well. Get a whole
true.
triad going. Always a fan of Jordan Peele. I watched this 2 times in a row in theaters. Because I was like, I know I'm gonna like it. So I bought tickets for 2 days, and I did, and I enjoyed. I think the first time I watched it was in Dolby, so that you can get that like vivid color because they're
Yeah,
like he is so talented at bringing out the definition in darker skin tones as well, which is just like that you're literally fighting cameras because they were designed racist. So
yeah,
um, you can hear me go on a whole rant about that in the future. But check out some videos about it. Just type in cameras are racist. You'll get a bunch. So I'm always fascinated with like color design and
yeah.
lighting like that. And that in itself, like a lot of the technical things were really phenomenal. And then like there's like I'm to this day still unpacking stuff. Like I see like a clip or something and I'm like, but what if it's this? And like I saw a clip where someone said that what I was saying, which was
Yeah.
that the creature is inspired by or reminded me of the Evangelion angels because of how
Oh,
bizarre they are. Like and like that just feel it felt like and you have this like I was like these are Evangelion angels for Neon Genesis Evangelion. You can check out our episode about that. And someone mentioned that Jordan Peele kind of offhandedly mentioned it as one of the inspirations.
ooh,
And I was like, I wasn't right. And then the other thing was I was like, it's also just like biblical angels at some point.
yeah.
Because I was like, and there's a reason for that. And then that one I've really like kind of gone crazy about with like all the theories in a way that like we got really excited about the theories for us and this
Uh-huh.
one is like even more spiraling for me so
Yeah, it was
yeah,
a
it's
fantastic
20 out of
film.
10.
I definitely agree. I think I did that thing where I didn't go in blind and then had like visual expectations for certain parts based on the commercials and then like that threw me off, but like that was like my own fault. I want to watch it again because
Yeah.
I think I was like distracted by that my first go through and like I always think there's so much merit in watching a film again because then you get so much more out of it. So that's one on my list to like rewatch, but I really loved it the first time as well. It was just like he just does a really cool job with like setup of stuff and like always like teaching you stuff without like really forcing you to like learn stuff
Mhm.
at the same time. Or he just says stuff and you're like, nice, all right, I'm gonna go learn about that later. And it was really funny too, in addition to being scary. So again, the marrying of like comedy and horror, we're definitely a fan of that.
Mhm.
With
I
the
just so
ghouls.
appreciate his brain
Yeah,
like
he's a
and
cool
I'm
brain.
so glad that he made the films you know like and he wasn't just
Hmm.
like I mean his sketches are also phenomenal like sketch comedy are amazing too
Yeah.
but I'm always just so thankful that you know he got the funding and he got the support to be able to do it because we are like the horror community and world has only been significantly improved by his existence
Oh,
so
1000%.
thank you.
Yeah, and that was a fun one. Highly
No,
recommend if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. I think it does live up to the hype. Not that my
100%.
thoughts mean everything, but Gabe agrees too. And I'm sure lots of people on the internet.
Yeah.
The next one I actually haven't seen, but Gabe did see, and it's on my list now to watch because you so highly recommended it, which is Prey. It was on Hulu. Naru, a skilled warrior of the Comanche Nation, fights to protect her tribe against one of the first highly evolved predators to land on Earth. And it's directed by Dan
Trachtenberg.
Trachtenberg.
Yeah. Excellent. Yes. Yeah. I watched it. And like, I know people, like, stupid people, I'm just gonna flat out say that, hated on it, and it's usually
Yeah.
for very ignorant reasons. There's also,
Uh-huh.
like, there were slurs in some of the, like, reviews for it, which were completely unnecessary.
That sounds like people.
Uncom
Yeah.
Yeah, it's stupid. Like, you're completely invalidating any words you say when you do that.
Yeah.
So, like, I knew, but I was really excited, um, but mostly because before Prey, I had never seen a Predator film, not a single one. I knew of them, I knew the gist. Maybe I saw Alien versus Predator, like, pieces of,
Yeah.
but I hadn't, like, I never saw Predator, because Predator to me is a male film, like a mask film, like, that's what it presented itself
Yeah.
as just like, "We're big macho men, we just shoot stuff," and I didn't realize that, like,
Very much.
that's very much what it is, but that's, like, the point. Like, oh my god, so I watched Prey, I was like, "Whoa, this is cool," and, like, my partner had to explain, like, some of this, like,
The
cool
lore, I
like,
guess.
the
Yeah.
homages to, like, what was going to happen with the Predator world, and I was
Uh-huh.
like, "That's dope." I was like, "Whoa," the whole lore of Predators seemed really cool. I was, like, giving it way more credit than it really should have.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed it. I thought she was fun. I felt really strongly for this community. I loved the fact that, like, honestly, the true villain is man. And that was
Always.
great.
Yeah. 10 out of 10.
So good. I love that, like, they had to find a dog that's appropriate for the time period. So they found a
Oh.
dog that's not like an actor dog. It just was the only kind of dog that has, like, the same breed that
Oh,
makes sense for
wow.
that time period. Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool. They worked so hard on it. And I think that was really impressive for me. I think it was well acted. It was a really fun film. And especially for someone who hadn't seen the Predator films, I was like, this is really dope.
Yeah.
And then I did watch Predator. I've now watched Predator and Predator 2, and we have the rest of them on the queue. Um, and Predator, upon watching, I discovered is one of the gayest films I've ever seen in my life. And
Yeah.
I will fight people about it. Okay, you cannot tell me this is the male gaze 100%. All of these men have too many muscles, all the muscles in the world. They're never wearing clothes. Anytime they can take off their shirt, they can. They're in the jungle. They're sweaty and just, like, full of dirt. And this is the most homoerotic thing I've ever seen. First of all, and I was like, it's also crazy because there's, like, this scene. I was like, this has to be comedy, because there's a scene where, and anyone who's watched Predator knows, where, like, the predator happened, that it got somebody, and the guys are freaking out, and he just starts unloading this ridiculous, like, machine gun, like, he's got the bullets
Yeah.
around him, he's just unloading, and the rest of them are like, well, so they start unloading, and they just completely tear apart this jungle, just, like, for it feels like at least 5 minutes consistently of just, like,
Yeah.
and, like, how that's stupid. First of all, it's such a waste of resources. It's such, like,
Yeah.
a
Eventually,
ridiculous
you're not
reaction.
going to have bullets anymore. And if you're fighting a big thing, you're going to need those bullets. Plus, all those
Plus they
animals.
haven't, yeah, and they
So, yeah.
hadn't seen it. They hadn't even
Yeah.
seen what the monster is. They're just like, "Oh, my friend is shooting at this, so I'm gonna shoot at nothing." And I was like, "That's this like the most stupid man thing that ever happened." But there's also this whole other situation where, like, one guy dies who was a super problematic person, but the way that his friend reacts is more than what a friend would react to. So, again, I can go on a whole tirade, and maybe one day we'll do, like, franchises, because I would really love, or just, like, monsters or, like, creatures, because,
Yeah.
like, Predators 2 is awful. There's a lot of terrible things about it. It's very dated.
Yeah.
But it was, like, fun, and so I kind of get that. But I read this one review about Predators 2, because I was trying to figure out, like, what
Yeah.
what's about what, because the
Yeah.
other
We'll
one made
be.
sense to me. Like, I was like, I
Yeah.
get what you're trying to say. And the review was, like, referred to Predator as, like, a horror movie, and it's like, in this film's final girl, Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's like, oh my god, it's so true. And it transformed my whole thing. It is literally a slasher film, and it's it's so good. So one day I will do a whole thing about Predator, but that was my very
I
crazy rant about
I
it.
am so down for that because I loved Predator growing up because after Terminator 2 was for the very long time, might still be one of my favorite movies of all time. And then because
Mhm.
I'm autistic, I was like, everything this man is in, I must see.
Yep.
So I was very obsessed with Arnold Schwarzenegger at the age of like 7. And
Yeah.
I had to see every film he was in. And Predator was on that list and I really loved it. So I am very excited to
So
watch
good.
Prey because I totally agree. The lore is really fun. I totally vibe with what you're saying. Like thinking back, you're totally right. It was
I
so much shirtless
honestly,
men doing the most like stereotypical man things, and yeah, just very wild.
like,
Very
you could
violence is fun time that is ridiculous.
yeah, like, there are, like, the rule, that, like, if a film exists, there's, like, a porn of it, but I'm like, "But it already does because it's literally just
Already that.
Predator."
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Predator is the porn,
yeah,
and it's a gay porn, just so everyone knows.
yeah.
Um, alright,
Yeah,
next one.
great film. Totally, totally. So we're transitioning to shows. Not that there aren't other films that like we liked this year. It's just these are the ones that I found specifically that came out in 2022.
Mhm.
Notable mentions: Titan, not from 2022. Really liked it, but we don't got to talk about it.
Black Phone as well, we enjoyed,
Black
didn't
Phone
come
was
out
really fun too. Yeah. But we're transitioning to shows. So the first three on this list, Gabe has not seen, so I'll
Nope,
mostly be talking
I have no
about
idea what
them.
they are.
I just thought they were really fun. They weren't like overtly like super scary, but just like a fun time. So first on the list is the Midnight Club. It's from the people who made Bly Mariner and The Haunting of Hill House. So I already had like pretty high expectations going in. The
Flanagan.
Yeah, and the description is the Midnight Club follows a group of 8 terminally ill patients at Brightcliff Hospice who begin to gather together at midnight to share scary stories. Created by Mike Flanagan and Leia Fong. It was just like a really fun. It was so cheesy and
Mhm.
creepy and just like a good time. And like I haven't finished it yet. It's still on like my to finish, but everything I've seen so far has just been like a really fun time. It has like a little bit of mystery. It has like this kind of like you're exploring this house, trying to like unlock the secrets. There's a cult, maybe. I don't know. Like it's just like but like in a fun way that's not stupid, like some of the films we watched recently. Uh,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's like a cool thing that it's a cult. Like it's not like dumb at all. It doesn't seem yet. It might get dumb. Uh, the If you're looking for like scary, it's not that. The
Mhm.
monsters look stupid. The monsters look
Yeah.
big dumb. They're not actually that creepy, but there are like creepy elements to it. And I just like kind of recommend it. It was a fun time. It was like I didn't even plan to watch it. I just saw like it recommended on Netflix, and I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot. And then I watched some of it, and I thought it was great.
I
So
will say this description and your description are so much more informative than whatever Netflix was doing. Because I tried several times, like the description is incredibly vague, and it's just like Mike Flanagan did it again, and I'm like, "Oh, did what?" And then it's like the trailer is just them reciting like what I assume is poetry or something, and it's just
oh,
like
they have like
3
a
people are, or what, like we're alive, and some are dead, and some are half alive, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, and it does give no context of
yeah.
who these people are, what they're doing in this house.
Okay,
It's cheesy
just
and
a
horrible.
little context that's actually very fun about it. So,
Yeah.
as I said, it's about like terminally ill, like teenagers slash college age kids
Mhm.
who are like
The
dealing
John
with
Green
really
novel.
heavy things. They're all terminally diagnosed with something of different variations and whatever. And like part of what they do to like this hospice is like less of a sad place and more like it's still sad, but like it's more of like this community where they can like live their lives and not have to like feel like they're dying all the time. Uh,
Mhm.
and what they
That's
do
dope.
is at midnight, like they meet and they have this little like phrase that they recite and they tell scary stories. And then the show enacts those scary stories in
That's
like a
great.
fun cinematic way where all the characters act in them. Uh, and
Oh,
what's
I love that.
Yeah, it's so like cheesy and fun, and you get like all these different like perspectives because they're all like it's a very diverse cast of like different backgrounds, and like you have all these like different kinds of stories, and like sometimes of different genres. Like sometimes they're not even scary. Sometimes they're just like fun sci-fi
Yeah.
drama. And it's just like really great. And then they're also just like dealing with this very heavy thing. So like the rule of the club is if you die, because everyone in this hospice is eventually going to, like, that's why they're there.
Mhm.
Um, that if you go to the other side, you have to tell everyone else with all of your might that there is something there. So then all these creepy things start happening, and they're like, is that my friend who is dead, like telling me that the
Wow.
afterlife exists? So then, like, they're all kind of exploring that and all the really like scary things that are happening. It's just a fun time. Highly
That's
recommend.
amazing.
It's
Now I'm
cheesy
gonna
and
watch it.
dumb, but like also really fun.
Like
Um,
scary stories to tell in the dark. The
yes,
Guillermo.
it's
Mhm.
definitely like meant for. It's like rated M for mature, which is like silly because it's like it seems like it's very much like meant for people in their like late teens, early 20s who just like want a fun, like kind of scary, but also just like cool show. Uh,
Mhm.
so highly
Love
recommend.
that.
The next one is if you want to feel emotions and read subtitles. It is All of Us Are Dead. It is so good. Watch it. Please watch it. It is the most emotional zombie show I've seen in a really long time. Um,
And
and
it's Korean, right? I mean, that could be a big
yeah,
part of why. They're very
yeah,
good at
it
emotional
is like
zombie things.
this show broke my heart like 27 times. And then also did that thing where it's like, I look, you hate it, but it's like that thing where they like show you a character, they do something so evil, and then they like make you feel for them, but like in such a satisfying where you're like, all right, I still like don't like them, but I get why now that they're like this.
Mm.
So it's about high school becomes ground zero for a zombie virus outbreak. Trapped students must fight their way out or turn into one of the rabid infected. A screenplay by Song Il Chun, and it is so good, guys. Go see it. It's on Netflix. I know I still
It's
haven't
on
watched the
my
last
list for sure.
episode because something happens towards the end and a character is alive then, and I just don't want them to die, so I stopped watching. And I was like, this is the
That's
end,
real. That's
actually.
real.
I don't want to know what happens because if this show has taught me anything, they kill everyone you love.
Yeah.
It's just like a really good show. Highly recommend. I was like total out of nowhere too. Like Isaiah and I started watching it like during our lunch break. Suddenly we're like, let's try this out. And I was like, how is this so good? What the heck? So really good show. Highly recommend. Um, The next one on the list is not really horror, but it's horror themed. It's a really cute show that I just adore. It's called Dead End. They just released season two, and it's about two teens and a talking pug team up to battle demons at a haunted theme park and maybe even save the world from a supernatural apocalypse created by Hamish Steele. And like it is so cute and fun and explores topics that are like so meaningful and the characters are so likable and complex. And then also like they just explore it's like a young people drama that like is a cartoon. It's kind of like what I feel like Steven Universe was for me
Mhm.
when the first time I watched it, but like for young kids today. It's like just a little scary. There's a lot of demon comedy and lore, and it's just like super cute.
That's
Uh,
cool.
and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And as I said, it's not really horror in that it's mostly comedy and like sweet and emotional, but it
Mhm.
has horror themes. So I put it on the list because it technically counts.
Yeah, there's a lot of like young, like youth horror shows that I'm like, I really want to try out. There's one that's like the
Yeah.
babysitter or something, and it's
Yeah.
like where the babysitters are trained to fight like monsters or something. I was like, these are
I love that.
so cool. I wish I like knew a young person to watch it with. Like that would be fun.
Just watch them anyway. I
I
watch
know,
kids
but I
stuff
think it
all the
would
time.
be like I just think it amplifies it when you're with like a young person that like gets
True.
really
Yeah.
excited about it, you know?
Yeah.
Excellent.
But it's just a fun time. Highly recommend. It's so cute. And it's just like a good like show to watch while you're eating lunch. It's not something that's gonna make you like think too hard, but it's good. The next one Gabe has seen, we've both seen. It was really great. So it's Stranger Things season four, as you probably could tell by Gabe's shirt. It is about well, this is like the Stranger Things analysis. It's essentially things get real in Hawkins and other places, and the characters are all in different places, and it's like a whole fun time. But it's created by Matt Duffer and Ross Duffer, the Duffer brothers. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
I controversial take. I think season 4 is the best season. I think
yeah, I
season
certainly enjoyed
I think season 1 is still amazing. There and I think they're really phenomenal parts of season 1 that is why we ended up with more seasons, right? Because
Yeah.
it was so, it was perfect when it came out. And I think seasons 2 and 3 were trying, and it was a mess, and people were like, I don't know if, there's room to really love it anymore. Like maybe it's kind of done its thing. And that's what I was reluctant to watch season 4 until like I heard from people who were like, no, 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 this is
It's really
different.
good.
And
Yeah.
watching it, I was like, wow, when things started to like click and they were connected in this like, I was like, wow, you guys actually thought about this one. It was like
Yeah.
people actually sat down and they connected some dots. And I was like, that's really cool. I think the characters got an opportunity to be interesting. I love when a show puts in the backseat characters that are not interesting. So putting 11 kind of in the peripheral, and Mike was barely in it. Amazing. Good job. They figured it out. They were like, these are the characters that people like,
Yeah.
and this is the ones we're going to spend time with. And it's like, it's also like, it's not fun when I think one of the best parts of it is that, there's so much focus in the first few seasons of 11 being this really important, like the chosen one trope.
Yeah.
And this one was like, no, we're all doing it. Like we can do it without her. And like, there was a strength in that, and I really enjoyed that. It was
Yeah.
giving D&D party in an even better way than the first time.
Yeah, and there was lots of things like in the previous seasons they had done like a dip toe with, and this season they were definitely leaning way more into those things instead of like being like we're not gonna actually say. I mean, they still didn't actually say, but like there were like elements that like were a lot more intentional. And not to spoil anything for anybody, but I definitely think it's worth a watch if you got lost in season 2 and 3. It actually inspired me to like rewatch season 2 and 3, and I was like, but
Hmm.
season 4 was really good. It was really fun, and you get like some new characters that like were really awesome.
And you get Kate Bush, so
Yeah,
running up
over
that
and
road,
over and
running up
over
that hill.
and over again, and
Chrissy,
then
wake
relive.
up.
Yeah, oh my god, and like lots of like fun pop culture things that are now just like on TikTok and the internet
Hmm.
forever.
Hmm.
Uh, and
So
yeah, the
highly
good
recommend.
acting this year, lots of character development.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
10 out of 10
Yeah.
stuff. Like it was a really
Character
emotional
growth
season.
all over. It was amazing
Yeah,
for the ones
yeah,
that we cared about. Other characters just kind of doing,
yeah,
And I thought that was great. I thought it was
yeah,
wonderful. I didn't
yeah.
hate anyone, which is rare in that
Nice.
show.
Yeah.
So
That's good. That's fair. Um, Next is games. Again, I'm going to be talking a lot. Sorry. Uh, so, first game on the list, I play a lot of video games. I never stop playing them. They're my favorite thing in the world. So, the first game I played this year that was like a big deal. Like, it was, everyone was waiting for it for a really long time. And then it finally came out and it was like pretty decent. It had some failures, it had some victories. Is Dying Light 2. So, 15 years after the virus in Haran, an infected world is plunged into a modern dark age where players deal with bandits and factions during the day and the infected at night by Mark Abinet and Adrian
Sisaweski.
Sizweski, and then Thomas Mitchells are various directors of the game. I thoroughly enjoyed this game. I like the first one better, but I feel like a lot of people felt that way maybe. Um, it was like really cool as a story, as a game. The gameplay was really cool. It really expanded on the world, but a lot of people kind of felt like there were elements of it that were like Sony, and it would have been cool if they leaned into those. So hopefully they'll do that with the expansion. So like essentially, it's about zombies in this world that's essentially in the previous story. It's the start of the outbreak. It's like 15 years after. There's so much outbreak. Society has collapsed. There's like this last pillar of society in this city, and
Hmm.
people are like dealing with it. And then there's people who travel across the world and actually go in the middle spaces, like the rural areas. And it's like a big deal because like you'd really die out there because there's no one to like support you.
Hmm.
There's not like community. You're really traveling from like stronghold to stronghold with nothing but zombies in the middle.
Hmm.
Um, so I thought it was a really fun game. Again, I still like the first one better, but I think if they make some expansions, I'll start to like it more. And it was cool. It was a cool game. Uh, Next one is Cult of the Lamb. This one is just so hilarious and cute. They have a special Halloween theme going right now. I'm really excited to play it next Sunday. But it's in a land of false prophets, a lamb is sacrificed for heretic prophets. Upon dying, the lamb is brought before and revived by the one who waits, a strange deity that tasks the lamb with starting a cult in its name. It's written by Johanna Williams and Jay Armstrong, and it is just the cutest darn thing with spooky elements. It's just like this little sheep, and your little sheep, you make a cult. You have all these little cute follower guys, and you can like make the cult about whatever you want. So you can make it about like blood sacrifice, or you can make it about loving each other, and like you decide all these like rules that the cult does.
Oh
and
my
like
gosh.
it's definitely dark. It's dark because you like can murder your followers, but like a lot of times you just like take care of your followers. They're super cute and fun, and I love them, and they're just so adorable. And there's also like this fun combat like RPG element that's really nice. But if you wanted like a cult simulator game that's super cute,
like Cult
it's that.
Simulator. If you don't want,
Okay,
if you
but
don't want
it's
this
like,
one,
but
yeah.
you want the cute little lamb babies and all these little baby followers that are so cute. You want this game, and it's like fun. It's like a good cozy scary game that's like not scary at all, but like just a fun time.
Just
And the
come
art is
into.
really beautiful. Highly recommend. I need to get back into it. I stopped playing it for a while, but I'm gonna play it again this weekend.
Woo!
The last one on the list, I haven't actually played, but I watched someone stream play it, and I thought it was so cool. Specifically, like Damien Haas from Smosh. My friend Jess made me watch one of his streams, and I was like, actually, this is really fun because they played Mortuary Assistant, and it's about like a mortuary assistant who's haunted, and like you get possessed by stuff, and it's really scary, and you're supposed to like unlock this like crazy story, and it just looked really fun. So I put it on the list because it came out this year, and its description is: over the past several months, you have heard rumors of families bringing their deceased loved ones, believed to be possessed, to the specific mortuary to be put to rest. Late one night, the mortician calls, and the rumors are true. It's directed by Brian Clark, and it is like such a creepy, fun game that I would never play because I'm a chicken. But it was really fun to watch other people play. So if you're a streamer, I
Some of
think
those are great.
it's a great one. It's like really creepy, and you have to like tell if someone's possessed, and there's like all these little clues and things that you have to figure out to like judge whether this like dead body is possessed. Like it'll smile at you. It'll like move. There's like these scary cutscenes. And like there's all these like clues, and you have to get the demon right and like burn the demon, and then like you save the day or whatever. And like there's just like this crazy story that's attached to it too. Super interesting game. Again, I'm a chicken, so I did not actually play this game myself, but in watching it, it's very fun to watch.
Yeah, if you're gonna stream it, listener, let us know and we'll watch.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to watch someone play it. It's like super fun. And it's apparently very accurate to mortuary practices, which is just fun. I like it when games like go that extra mile.
That's super cool.
Where you're like learning something, but you didn't even know you were learning something. So you actually like learn how to embalm a body. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like neat.
Yeah.
Neat stuff. Now we're on books. Go ahead, Gabe.
I want to preface this section with, these are not books that came out this year. It's just that this year was renewed in my love and appreciation for horror books, or just books in general. And I have read 32 already, which is a big deal for me.
That's huge. That's such a list.
My limit was 20. So I was like, already, or my goal was 20. So
yeah,
I'm doing it. Some of them are like short.
Yeah.
So whatever, but still it counts. And so these are books that I'm just super interested in. And so I hope you like, try them out yourself. So that's kind of like no particular order. These are by no means all the books I read. These are just ones that really stuck out to me this year. And so one I just recently finished was The Deep by Nick Cutter. And Nick Cutter is someone who gets a lot of attention for The Troop. And it's really funny because I was like looking at the descriptions on Scribd, the Scribd app.
Yeah.
And the description for The Deep starts with from the writer of a book who Stephen King called the best horror, or like true horror.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool, but what's it say about this book? And then when you look at The Troop, it's like Stephen King calls this true horror. Like that's what it starts with. And I was like, y'all,
through the Google Home app.
Okay. Um, so it's like putting all its eggs in that basket. And I
Yeah.
actually found Nick Cutter because of the troop. It's a TikTok book talk favorite,
Yeah.
especially in the horror world. Like it gets people go crazy for it all the time. And I started with the deep because it just seemed more interesting to me.
Yeah.
And it was. I'd say I've read a lot of spooky books, and this one was the most horrifying to me. It's just like I was genuinely scared, and there were parts where I was just like, "Oh God, like I'm not gonna be able to sleep," kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's specifically because of the subject matter. I think it's also a little more polished than I felt like the troop was. It's also more focused
Yeah.
than the troop is as well. The troop, it was hard for me to follow because it's kind of it switches points of view and like what kind of storytelling it is a bit too much for me.
Yeah.
But the troop was pretty consistent, and it was just there were things I wanted from it, and it delivered every
Yeah.
single. Like I was like, if this doesn't end with this thing happening, like if we do not have this result, I'm gonna be really mad. And
Yeah.
it gave that result, and
It
I was
gave the
like,
result.
thank you. Like, so it's like Lovecraft meets The Thing meets the Event Horizon
Oh, wow.
meets Underwater. Like it is so good, and it's about this. So there's this time period in the world where there's a pandemic.
Yeah.
Where they have this illness called the Gets, which is essentially like short for the forgets. So everyone gets this like
Oh.
extreme form of kind of like Alzheimer's, except it's like you forget everything to the point of like some people just forget that they're supposed to breathe and eat and all those things, and they just simply fade away. Yeah, they just stop. Their body stops.
Oh,
Right?
no.
Which is crazy in itself, but that's
Yeah.
not even what it's about. And so essentially these scientists found something in the bottom of the ocean that they are hopeful will help with the Gets. So
Yeah.
this guy, the main character, gets a call from these scientists that his brother, who's this very famous scientist who's down there, asked for him. He has to go
To the
and
underwater?
to underwater to do
No.
something. And he's just a vet. He's a veterinarian with a tragic past. And so it's all this stuff about like it plays so well into like what the real horrors of being underwater is, like the way that
Yeah.
they have to create this base. And they never shy away from the fact that they are like seconds from death always.
Oh my
Like they
god.
were like literally one thing goes wrong, we're just dead. That's it.
Yeah.
Squish like a soda can, we're done. And
Yeah.
I thought it was like really phenomenal in that, like those things played. Plus, there's this whole psychological element to it. There's this something that's down there that's playing with them in some way, and
Yeah.
everything. Like it just seeped into you, like the horror of it, and
Yeah.
played into all my things. And I really enjoyed the main character. And like when we got to see other characters' worlds, it didn't feel intrusive or like it was taking away. It felt like it was adding to. And it was also this whole commentary about like humanity. It was phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean,
So 10 out of
hopefully
10.
we can talk about it again. We read it and
Yeah.
do a whole episode about it.
So good. The troop is more. It's definitely horrifying. I definitely understand what people were talking about it because it's gross. It's
Yeah.
disgusting. I've never in my life skipped parts of books, but I did for the troop.
Yeah.
I read Tender as a Flesh, and I was like, fine, whatever.
Oh,
But the
wow.
troop, I was like 30 seconds. Like I got because there was one specific thing that was happening to a character that was triggering some thoughts, and I was like, I can't go here.
Yeah.
My body can't take what I'm imagining is happening. So I'm like, okay, going. I get it. I get it. I get it. So for that, like, I think if gore and that kind of horror and just like flesh and like ooh, gets to you, absolutely. The troop
Yeah.
is scary. And I think the thing is like horror is subjective. It's like what gets you, because some
Yeah.
people in the troop are like, I'm on chapter 6 and nothing scary is happening, and people are like, yeah, but like that's just because you don't find that scary. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like, it is scary. Like I cannot deny that. So,
Yeah.
it didn't keep me up the same way the deep did. It just was
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
That's true.
Um, then I'll try to go through a bunch of these really quickly, but
No, no, no.
uh,
Take your time. Okay.
The last by Hannah Jameson is this story where this man is at this hotel. He was there for a conference, and while he's away, it's like I actually miss where it was. I think it's in Switzerland,
Okay.
and it's some like very isolated space. And while he's there, they find out on the news that nuclear bombs have happened, and
No.
everyone's presumed dead. He doesn't know if his family's alive. Their internet is out where they are, and it's like them surviving in this hotel. But it's more than that because like there's like this whole first wave of people who end up like unaliving themselves because like what is there to live for? There's others who are like, we got to get out of here. We're running out of resources. But it kind of takes this turn when they are something happens. They find a body that
Yeah.
is that they with a not an autopsy because they can't do that one doctor,
Yeah.
but one doctor is able to determine that this person died on the day that everything happened, so it wasn't like a suicide kind of thing, it was a
Oh.
murder. And so then this character is like he's like a historian, and so he's
Yeah.
like letting everyone's stories of like the events and kind of tracking like what's going on, but then he gets really obsessed with what happened to this person, and that kind of spirals like how do they survive, like how these different people are affected and how they react. But there's this like when he's talking to these people and you get glimpses into like their story, there's one story that's just crazy. And then it keeps coming back. And at the end, it was like chef's kiss. It it came back and you were like, no, what? Like it's so good because there's like a lot of questions that happen in it. And you're for a book like that, I was really worried I wouldn't get any answers, but you do. You get an answer to everything. So,
Yeah.
highly recommend just for that. I was really surprised because, like, it's like, okay, the world's ending. And I was like, okay, this is going to be a short book because, like, the world ended.
It already happened. Yeah.
And then I looked at it, it was like, you have 10 hours left. And I was like, what of what?
What else
And
is
then
gonna
it
happen?
was
Yeah.
it was solid. It was great. The Seep by Chana Porter is noted as a soft invasion. So it's like this alien invasion, but it's this alien creature that is kind of like metaphysical in a way,
Okay.
and it kind of blends with humanity and it makes us better in a lot
Ooh.
of ways. It gives us opportunities to do things to our bodies,
Symbiotic.
yeah, understand things with our mind. And it's like this mix of like the alien is trying to understand humans and the humans are trying to be better, and the one character this awful thing happens to them where they're struggling with grief, and so then they go out and they're just like exploring the world and they're confronting the Seep, which is an alien. The main character, she's multiracial and she's also trans, and like that comes into play in these really organic ways when you're like
Yeah.
exploring like what it means to be like a true version of yourself in such a great way. Like
Yeah.
it was funny. Like there are parts that were honestly I was like chuckling on the subway. Like
Yeah.
like I look like a crazy person because I'm laughing at like nothing. Um and it was heartfelt. It was also another exploration of like humans, and I
Yeah.
really really appreciated the messaging, and just like I know some people didn't like it, but it's short. So highly recommend that.
Yeah.
Um, Lola Woods, we're actually going to talk about soon, so I won't talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
Is a comic book, and it's on here because it's really cool. Check out my book talk about it, and also the episode we're going to have about it. And it is by Carmen Maria Machado, who's one of my favorite authors right now. So,
Yeah.
um, highly recommend. Cool comic book, very great art. Cursed Bunny is a book of short stories by Bora Chung, and some of these stories are the most amazing stories I've ever read. And I was engaged. Some of them, like you have to. The first story is wild. The first
Yeah.
story is you read it and you're like you're that first page and you're like, did I just read that? Is this a metaphor? And it's not. It is and
Oh
it's not.
god.
And then you're like, keep reading and you're like, okay, I just gotta take this seriously. And it's so good.
Yeah.
Like never in my life would I think that you told me there's a head in a toilet and that is a good thing. And I like my life.
Yeah.
Um, also, like talking about short stories, I'm also reading Her Body and Other Parties with Carmen Maria
I've
Machado's
heard of that
short
one. Yeah.
stories. And she has one that's just like it's told through SVU, Law and Order SVU
Oh wait, you
episode
told me about this. Yeah.
synopses, but it's like it's not real
Yeah, yeah,
SVU
yeah.
episodes. But it was so cool. Like it took me forever to read it because I like would read it late at night and have to like put it down. But I was like, whoa! Like it takes all these turns, and you're just like, this is rad. This is the cool, like so spooky
What a
and
fun
like
time.
entertaining, and the way that's presented. I was like, oh man, like Marjada, like the way she tells stories is phenomenal. It's never conventional, and I love it so much. She
Mhm.
does like what she calls like mosaic, and man. But Cursed Bunny has some really really cool stories, including Cursed Bunny. The story Cursed Bunny was I was like, whoa, that's so great. So highly recommend. Um, Follow Me to Ground is one of my favorite books forever. Like,
Yeah,
like I wish I had found it earlier just because like I love it so much.
yeah.
By Sue Rainsford. And it's like fairy tale-ish. Like, because there's like it has like a aura to it that makes you think of maybe like a grim fairy tale in a way.
Mm,
Like there's like supernatural things, but it's also very folksy
okay,
about this girl who isn't quite human and her dad who
okay.
isn't human, and they heal the people in their town. They live in this like in before times, but they
Yeah.
heal people in town. And the way that they do it is these really unorthodox ways, but one of them is like they bury the people alive and the earth like heals them of ailments. But the way that the
Oh.
ailments are like exist, like there's one part where she like she's like in the cabinets and she finds this like baby, and she's like, oh, someone's gonna someone's gonna show up who's pregnant, and then someone does, and like it's just so cool. Like
Classic cabinet baby.
yeah, the way that the body, like things in your body are personified, and
Mm.
her story, she's like creepy but also very intriguing, and like her dad is weird as heck. It's so good. And you will never guess anything that's happening. And I
Yeah.
think that's really cool because like the way that it's so inventive and like
That's
the
refreshing
weirdest thing.
too. That like I feel like a lot of plot lines end up being predictable when you've read and seen so
Yeah.
much, you know? It's really cool when you find a book that actually still surprises you.
Yeah. I'd say like all of these were genuinely like that. Like I
Mhm.
didn't have an understanding about what was going on, and I was really
Yeah.
excited when I got to the end. So I got two more of them done. Sorrowland by River Solomon, who's also a new author that I'm in love with. Like they're not new, but they're new to me. So they're like now I'm like I need to read everything they've ever written. And they also have a book called The Deep, which is how I found Nick Cutter's book too.
That's so funny.
Um, but Starland is about a young woman who escapes a cult
Mhm.
and discovers things about herself. And she also has these two twin boys or twin children. And it's so cool. It is amazing. Like, I don't even know what else to say. There's like superpowers, there's
Ooh.
monsters and folklore, and like
Yeah.
there's an exploration of race and like the Intel Pro, like quo Intel Pro of
Yeah, yeah.
America, and like how I can't like it's also queer as heck. Like
Yeah.
that's also really amazing. Like Carmen Maria Machado, queer as heck, Chana Porter, queer as heck, and so is River Solomon, like their characters and the stories that they're telling.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yes. So I don't want to ruin anything. Just go read Sorrowland.
Yeah.
And then Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay, which I did a book talk about as well. And what I'll say about Head Full of Ghosts is that it does what Grady Hendrix thought he was doing with My Best Friend's Exorcism.
Yeah.
Um, which is to say, I could do a whole episode about me ranting about Grady Hendrix and how I hate that everyone loves him. But mostly it's because like his ideas, like he has good ideas. Like
Yeah.
the premise for every one of his ideas is cool. And
Yeah.
like the art that goes around with it is cool. And then
Yeah.
he writes it and it's not cool anymore.
Yeah.
Like I was like, what if somebody who wasn't you had this idea? And
Yeah.
that's kind of like what Head Full of Ghosts is. It's about a young girl whose sister is possessed, maybe,
Yeah.
and or she's schizophrenic, and her dad signs them up to be on a show that's like investigating
Yeah.
her exorcism, because he's very religious. But it's also like, what is it really about? Like at the end, to this day, I do not know what
Yeah.
the answer is, and I think that's very cool, and highly recommend. I also read The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay, and I'm still sussing out how I feel about it.
Okay.
But I saw this review that put it into context, and I was like, I need to reread it because now I'm like, wait, it's giving me Nope vibes in like with the biblical allegory done in such a way that doesn't
Mm.
feel like stupid,
Yeah.
like we just had with Hell House.
Yeah.
So it feels like, whoa, it's not an afterthought. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Will you stop being on the crunchiest things that I have in my house?
They're like, you're recording a podcast. Let me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm reading right now Mongrels. And that is really cool so far. And I can't wait to, I'm really enjoying it. I'm only in like chapter 3.
Yeah.
So I hope like I get to talk about it at some point because I've been meaning to read Stephen Graham Jones, and this is like dope.
Yeah.
So that's me.
Well, I hope we get to read those because, like me specifically, I hope I get to read them like with purpose because my brain doesn't let
Mhm.
me read stuff unless we're doing it for the show. So hopefully we get to talk
That's why
about
you do
these
video games.
more. Yeah,
You
yeah,
do
yeah.
video games. I read books.
Yeah, it's a good trade-off. It's a good trade-off. But I also want to read stuff, so one day. Real quick, I just want to give us a list of things we're excited for but haven't seen yet in movies. I'll just kind of read them off. We don't have to give all the descriptions. The ones that we haven't seen but are excited for, we have Wendell and Wild, which is like Coraline, but like the new one.
Jordan
Uh,
Peele.
Jordan Peele wrote the screenplay for with Henry Selick. And it's about two scheming brothers, Wendell and Wild, enlist the aid of a 13-year-old cat, Elliot, played by Lyric Ross, to summon them to the land of the living. And it just looks super creepy and fun. It's like stop motion animation with clay.
Mhm.
And it's
So
like,
dope.
yeah, super cool. Gabe, you put this one on Barbarian. A woman staying in an Airbnb discovers that a house she has rented is not what it seems.
Yeah, she goes there, someone else is there, and it's the Pennywise guy. I forget his name right now.
Yes, yes, yes.
Skarsgård. And what I've been told for this, and what I'm going to tell everyone because I think it'll work, is don't read anything, don't know anything besides what they show you in the trailer, and just go in blind because it's not anything you thought.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm going to go into it, and I hope you go into it as well.
Yeah. I love going into films blind. I feel like it makes them so much better. It makes me like be like, nice, I actually
Yeah,
like this more because of it.
yeah. Some
But
trailers give away too much.
yeah, exactly. And then like they set your expectations up and you're like, now I think the movie's gonna go like this and then it doesn't. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
my brain does not compute. Next on the list, I don't know if you're actually excited for this because what you say next, but it's Halloween Ends.
Yeah, because I want it to end. I want it to be done now. I want Evil to die tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want him to transcend or whatever that made up is.
Yeah.
So, and I've heard like at least the final girls and it get some attention, and I think that's great because it's about dang time.
Yeah.
So I'm ready for it to end. So let's be done. Let's put it to sleep. Put it in a little blanket. And it's done.
Yeah. Make me feel now.
Yeah.
Basically. Next on the list is Antlers, which I think we even like had on our list to watch and we like never ended up watching it.
It's 100% on our list.
Yeah.
It's a newer film by Guillermo del Toro that I was waiting for a long time, and then it came out at an ill-opportune time, and then I forgot about it. But in my anticipation of it, I did read the short story that inspired it, so I'm even more excited because the short story was dope. And you know I love Guillermo, so
Yeah. Next on the list is just like the fun. Smile, the really creepy
So bad.
film where it's like, or like the really creepy smile that they do. Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
Terrifying.
So good.
It looks super dumb, but like in the best way. That you want a horror movie to be like when you're going in to like not think too hard. Like you're going in just to get scared, and like it looks like it's going to achieve that, and it looks really fun. And the marketing department needs a raise because it's so cool how they went about it.
All the jump scares, and they had marketing like they had bulletins that were like like the dentist. Right. But then it was like people had the smile on it. And I was like, or they were like standing outside of Good Morning America, like,
Yeah,
So good.
so creepy.
So
Such a
good.
cool way to like get people to go see your
Oh,
film. So smart.
amazing.
The next
We
one we've
mentioned
already
Pearl
mentioned, Pearl, this prequel to X
X.
that we're excited about. I don't know if I'm excited for this next one because I didn't hear it was very good, but I know you put it on there that is excited for the new Hocus Pocus movie. I don't know. I also like I've stopped trusting reviews because they keep telling me films are bad and then they're like really good. So like maybe
Mhm.
I am wrong and maybe it's gonna be great, but it's on the list. Something we haven't seen that we'd like to see.
Yeah. I just think for like, you know, what's the word?
Nostalgia?
Nostalgia. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I also am planning to watch it with a friend and a young child uh, who
Smart.
have already deduced all the plot holes and are very eager to tell me about them. So that's what I'm looking forward
Ooh,
to. I'm
that'll
like, yeah,
definitely
that
be
sounds
fun.
amazing. Also, Bette Midler looks like my mom. So
Yeah,
it's
just
fun
like
to do that.
just
So,
love there because of that.
yeah.
I love the first Hocus Pocus, so like I want it to be good. I'm definitely gonna probably watch it. And also, yeah, the reviews are usually wrong. Sometimes they're right, but then it's like a lot of time they're
It's
wrong.
subjective.
Yeah. For shows, this was from you, Gabe. Cabinet
Hmm.
of Curiosities.
Another Guillermo. And I'm sure there's more. I just like couldn't think of any because it's October. My brain
Yeah,
is
I'm
dead.
sure there's shows we want to watch, and it just like, isn't in our brains
Yeah.
right now.
But that one I heard was like, as far as like reviews go, this one actually people are going crazy about,
Yeah,
because of the creators who are behind the short stories and just the way that like Guillermo approaches art anyway.
yeah. Yeah, no, super exciting. And I put 3 games in here that I just think are going to be cool. We played Oxenfree, the original one. It was a really fun game. It was like scary, but like really unique.
Hmm.
So they're making a second one, Oxenfree 2, Lost Signals. So I'm excited for that, just to like see how they kind of go from where they left off, and see like,
Such a good technique of like
yeah,
game design. So cool.
yeah, it was doing really cool things, especially for game design, like you said. So hopefully it's like it looks beautiful too, like the stuff I've seen so far. I'm very excited about the remake of the Silent Hill game, just because from
Oh, Silent
nostalgia.
Hill.
Nostalgia. I grew
When
up
does it come out? Because we're going to be talking about Silent Hill in an upcoming episode.
it's a solid question. I do not know, but
Okay.
it's supposed to come out like believe like next year.
Okay.
So probably not in time for the episode that we're talking
That's
about.
okay. We can hype it up.
But they basically are just like imagine Resident Evil Village and how beautiful that looked like visually. They're remaking like the Silent Hill game to look that cool. So I'm just really excited about because Silent Hill is such a fun game watching like on like PS1 or 2 or whatever it was.
Hmm.
Like growing up, like I just vividly remember watching like my friend's dad play it and being like, that's so cool. And then like, Gabe, you have a lot of connection to Silent Hill. So like I just
Hmm.
think it's gonna be neat. So I'm excited
Lots of
for it.
emotion.
Yeah. So maybe that's something like we play together and do the pass the controller game, and it'd be a
Absolutely.
fun time. And the last one that I'm just very excited. It comes out this month, apparently. I don't know if it's already out, but I'm very excited. It's The Sons of the Forest, which is the sequel to The Forest, which is one of
Which we
Gabe,
lived for.
yeah, fueled our video game friendships virtually slash also like when we lived in the same house, I believe even like
Hmm.
the forest is just such a fun game, such a cool concept of survival horror and zombies slash not zombies, but like similar vibes to zombies, I guess.
So
Like,
gross.
yeah,
It's
so gross, but
crazy.
super fun. And I'm just like excited to see what they do next because they ended it where you're like, what's gonna happen there? So it's all about the son, and he goes back to a similar island situation, and it still has survival horror and like base building and all this other stuff that comes out like probably this week, and I'm very excited for that. I don't know if it's still online multiplayer. I haven't done much research. I'm actually going in blind, but looks cool. I'm excited for it. And I think that's our
Cool.
list.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And there's definitely more that, we're thinking of. We hope that you share with us what you've been looking forward to, what you're interested in, what brought you joy or joy in the year 2022, because we're going to be closing it out soon. But next week is back to your regular scheduled
Schedule programming.
programming of, haunted series. But remember to subscribe, drop some likes and comments. You know how it goes.
Yeah, if you
And
watch these things or read them or play them, let us know if you thought we recommended good, or if you were like, that was the worst. Why'd you say that? And we'll
totally
be
fair.
like, it wasn't the worst. You're wrong. Just kidding. I don't know. I don't know how we'll react. I'm
we'll
sure
be
they'll
like,
be
oh,
like,
sorry.
"No, sorry. Tell us,
Sorry you
tell
feel
us
that
why."
way.
Yeah.
Sorry you feel that way. No.
Other people can have correct opinions.
Yeah, you're allowed to feel
I'm
things.
not the pillar of what life is. But if you don't like it, let us know. I'm just curious. And if you loved it, tell us that too, because I'll be like, yeah, right. Oh my god, let's geek out about it. This was fun. We should do this more often. Just random talk nonsense time. That's sort of
Hell yeah.
organized.
Love it.
Yeah,
All right.
that's all we got. Happy Halloween, right?
Happy Halloween.
Hope you dress
Don't get
up
married.
to let your kids.
Yeah, dress up. Halloween. Okay, bye.
Bye.